It's 27 days until we leave for Taiwan. And at this point, I can't even be asked to bother to try to pretend like I'm putting a script out for you. Okay, at 27 days, I'm going to give you an update on where we are. This week's major activity was supposed to be health insurance. And so I have been looking at what's considered expat insurance. I could continue my actual health care here in the United States through my retirement, but it would be absolutely useless in Taiwan. They won't cover anything. Um, so, or virtually nothing. So it's of no value. And I have issues with the supposed 6-month waiting period. So going in on my research, let's just work on the assumption that my wife, by virtue of being employed in a professional capacity, is supposed to be able to apply for and have health insurance day one of the job. That's August 1st. We'll be getting into Taiwan on August 17th. And technically, she'll still have American insurance. And if something hideous went wrong, I guess we could fly back to the United States, but we're just going to have to run it for that short period of time. But I, by virtue of not being employed, would supposedly have to wait, note that word supposedly, have to wait 6 months. So I've been looking at my health insurance options, and they boil down to basically two. There is a Cigna option, and there is a Blue Cross and Blue Shield option. And they are different products. The Cigna product is $600 a month and covers no health care at all except for major medical problems. And while it is month to month, if I use it at all, I'm obligated to pay for an entire year. So that makes it a year-long policy if I use it. If I don't use it, well, that's insurance for you. On the other hand, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield policy is of variable length. I can keep it. I do have to pick a length, like 6 months, but I can cancel early and there's no cancellation penalty. But of course, that depends on what period of time you pick, locks in your rate. So let's say I work on the assumption that 6 months to the day goes by and then they can start whatever it is that they have to start. So I figured I'd probably need to go in at 7 months. That's $900 a month. But they cover your doctor's visits and preventative care and prescriptions and, you've got a cold and you got to go see the doctor, and all that's covered. Now, the thing is, all of those things are very inexpensive in Taiwan, although you never can tell. Maybe my particular prescriptions or whatever might be terribly expensive. But what we're really looking at is that worried concern that I get hit by a car or something happens that's a major medical surprise, in which case then this policy also covers that. But in those cases, there is a $5,000 deductible, which is a lot, but we could find a way around that one. So that seems to be the approach that I need to go with. But there was another alternative. We wanted to find out if perhaps there were some Taiwanese insurance companies that would offer some sort of a policy for people in this kind of situation that would probably be less expensive. So we contacted the school liaison about this, and the school liaison came back and said, based on the 2023 law change of blah, 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 and sent us some information. Your husband will actually be covered as more or less at the same time as you are. Please, let's note the phrase more or less. So that's good. That's great. I might only need this policy for a short period of time, maybe no time at all. But now we come back to our trip to Teco. We got our visas yesterday, and now we know what the situation with the visas on the ground is. And I took that information that the liaison gave us about the law changes, and I went and tracked those changes down. And I found an English language copy of them, which I read, and I think I understand. I found the original Chinese language copy, and I sent those to my wife, who read them, and we think we understand them. I fed them into two different AI systems and had them translate them and consolidate what they said, and the conclusion came up to be the same. So we think that the person whose job it is to handle liaising with foreign teachers and their families knew what he was talking about, and that I am eligible from the time I get an ARC, not day one, but from the time I get my ARC. And the school can facilitate that health insurance when I get my ARC. But the visas came in. I got a standard type P visitor visa. It's good for one 90-day visit to Taiwan. Single entry. Which is basically exactly the same as what I can get just arriving at the door with a U.S. passport. It's got no special qualifications, and it's generally not considered a convertible visa, but it's not explicitly banned conversion visa. My wife got a standard single entry 90-day type A visitor visa, but on the visa it says type A, this person has a contract to work and a work permit. So it is acknowledging the fact that they know she's supposed to be in Taiwan to have a job. So we got that. So here's what we think happens. We put all the pieces together, and this is as good as we're going to get. My wife goes to Taiwan. I go to Taiwan with her. And on day one, she goes down to the Bureau of Consular Affairs, BOCA, B-O-C-A, and she asks for her visa to be converted to a resident type visa. And she takes down her contract and work permit, contract work permit and all this stuff that she's already submitted to get the work permit in the first place, but she takes that down. And they should be able to process that in 10 days to 2 weeks. So we get there on July 17th. Let's pretend like we could go down on July 17th, but probably more likely the 18th. And in 10 days to 2 weeks, she should have a resident visa. That puts her into her first day of work, which is August 1st. She will have to go down again once she gets the resident visa to BOCA, and she will have to get an ARC, which will take 10 days to 2 weeks. So then she will be, in 10 days to 2 weeks, she will be able to get the resident visa. So now we're looking at potentially 4 weeks, mid-August. Once she has a resident visa and an ARC, then we can go down to BOCA and try to get my visa converted to a resident visa on a joining family member, So we do that, and then that takes 10 days to 2 weeks. And if so, I'll get my passport with a visa back now end of August. And then I get to go back again to apply for the ARC, 10 days to 2 weeks, mid-September. Now, mid-September, I get the ARC. I take the ARC to school, and the ARC can then put me in to get on the health insurance. And let's just say, for the sake of laughs, 10 days to 2 weeks to get that taken care of. So we were looking end of September, potentially. Now, by the way, when my wife gets the ARC, the school will start the process for her health insurance as well. So she'll be getting hers in there at some point. So not 6 or 7 months, but still, 2 or 3. And that's interesting. So it's better. And we talked, and then we also sent the information about the visas to the liaison once we got them. And the liaison said, I can take care of this. So hopefully all taken care of. So that's where we are on the visas, and that's where we are on the health insurance. It's still expensive, and I if I sign up for the health insurance, even though I don't need it until 30 days from now, I have to pay for it the first month. I have to pay for it now, and we're kind of running the money close to the wire right now. I mean, we do have some savings, but we're trying to do this on operational income, and it's not working. There's stuff we'll get reimbursed, like the flights and things from the school, but that doesn't happen until months from now. So if I seem down today, I am. And it's not because of the health insurance, and it's not because of the visas. One of the very difficult choices, one of the difficult choices we have is leaving our children. But they're adults, and they've both lived on their own for periods of time, even if that was at the dorm at school. And they're, perhaps don't have the confidence, but they're getting there. And but again, this is the thing. This is what parents and children do. But there's another set of children that we have had to make difficult choices with. And that's our dogs, Bumper and Ollie. We've had them both for just coming up on 10 years since they were puppies. And Ollie is he's a big, sweet, lovable dog. He's happy with anyone and anybody's attention. And Bumper likes us all, as long as we're feeding him, or petting him, or giving him attention. But he loves Chewan. He is a Velcro dog, and he's got her, and he's got Ollie, and we really can't take the dogs with us. It's not impossible. It's not legally impossible, but it's practically impossible. And even if we did, then we couldn't come home on summer break to visit the kids, because we'd have to go through the process or find some way to keep the dogs in a kennel for 2 months. It wouldn't work. So the dogs, it was decided, would stay behind here. And we very much worried about Bumper dropping into some form of depression because his mom wasn't around. And, we trust the kids to take care of him, but Bumper really needs his mom. But at least he's got Ollie to play with. and because they grew up together, and then Sunday we had some friends over, and they noticed that Ollie was limping, and he was. And he hadn't really shown any sign of it. He also had a kind of lump on the leg that wasn't limping. I don't know what the deal is with that, but he was limping a bit, and he was limping worse on Monday, and by Tuesday night his leg was completely paralyzed, and by Wednesday morning his other leg had become almost useless, and he basically couldn't get up at all. Wednesday was yesterday, and he stopped eating, stopped drinking, and we had to call a vet out today and have him put down. He was clearly in pain. He was clearly having difficulties. I mean, it was very rapid deterioration. So much so you'd almost think it was poison or something, but it was heartbreaking. And I like Monty Python. This is not a non sequitur. I like Monty Python. Monty Python's Flying Circus, the series in particular. And my dad could find no humor in it at all. And I'm not saying my dad was a humorless person, but apparently when it came to Monty Python, he was a humorless person. And he just didn't, I don't think he found the zaniness. But I remember he would tolerate me watching it sometimes in the living room. And I remember there was a skit where the guy goes into the doctor and he says, you know, doctor, I've got this problem. And the doctor gets up into his speechifying mode and he says, Mr. Johnson, whatever, there's nothing wrong with you that extremely expensive medical procedures can't prolong. And my dad burst out laughing. I mean, just genuinely joyful laughter at that particular gag. Now, it could gag, but it, I think it says more about some of the suffering people in our lives have been through than how funny the line was. And that's kind of how it had to be with Ollie. I guess we could have run lots of tests and toxicology and x-rays and stuff, but this was a dog who was suffering, and this was a dog who couldn't get up to eat, didn't want to eat, couldn't get up to crap, and we couldn't have afforded it. And the result would have been the same. So I made a very, very difficult decision today and said our goodbyes to, without doubt, one of the best dogs I've ever had. And I've had a lot of dogs. I've had a lot of good dogs, a couple not so good dogs, but just absolutely one of the kindest, friendliest, nicest, happiest, well-trained dogs I've ever had. So that's not a good day. and it costs $500 to have that done. And that might sound horrible, but like I said, money's kind of skint on the ground right now. So 27 days.